Sorry about that. My batteries of my video camera died before my hour was up. So here I am in the second installment, and this should be pretty brief since I'm winding it down to the tail end. As I was saying before, the 3-chord, especially in real music examples, is often used as part of a descending 5/6 variant sequence. And because it happens pretty early on in the sequence, I do want you, for the final exam, the ear training final exam, to memorize the first 6 chords of a descending 5/6 variant sequence. Starting on 1, the descending 5/6 variant sequence will go from 1, then to 5, then 6, and then 3, followed by 4 and 1. Now, in the context of a harmonic sequence, chords do not normally follow their normal functional behavior, so to speak. They don't have to. They're not bound by those rules. And so, for instance, maybe this explains why we have a 6 chord coming before a 3 chord instead of after a 3 chord. But again, this is in the confines of a harmonic sequence, and normal harmonic function is kind of it's not very important to composers. They're just focusing on the harmonic sequence itself. Although it happens to be in this sequence that the 3 chord does go to a 4 chord as usual. Just to jar your memory quickly, the descending 5/6 variant sequence is known as what I call the Pachelbel canon sequence. If I were to play these 6 chords on the piano, you would hear them in this order. You would hear them and probably associate them with the Pachelbel canon ostinato, whether you like that progression or you like that piece or not. So what I just finished playing was these 6 chords, and then in Pachelbel's canon, what he does is he adds a standard cadence, and that cadence is he just tacks on a few more chords, a 4, a 5, and a 1. And that's the progression that I played. But the main part I want you to focus on and memorize is I want you to focus on this part, the first 6 chords of a descending 5/6 sequence. This is just a cadence. This is not part of the harmonic sequence. And the first 6 chords of a descending 5/6 variant sequence, I should say, all the chords are in root position, and the 3 chord is used, and that's especially why I'm making a big deal about that chord right now. Now, Pachelbel is not the only Baroque or classical composer to ever use this sequence. I actually have some real music examples where a different composer either uses these 6 chords of the sequence or uses part of these 6 chords, some of these 6 chords in the descending 5/6 variant sequence. Again, a composer is not required to use, once he starts a sequence, he's not required to finish that sequence until he gets back to 1. Composers can use any or all parts of harmonic sequences. And so if you hear any chord progressions of like maybe 3 or even 4 chords that sound something like Pachelbel's canon, chances are you're going to be dealing with these chords that I have in the rectangle at that time. So I'm going to go through one more real music example. It's kind of a lengthy one. But again, you do have the option and you have the ability that is not the example. You do have the choice or prerogative and the time to go back and listen to this real music example several times. As many times as you need to, for that matter. I'm going to play it once, and I'm going to show you what key we're in and how many chords that you need. And then I will put the answer on the screen, but again, you can work on this until you feel like you've gotten it before you view the answer. Okay, I don't happen to have a key for this one off the top of my head, but I can tell you that it is a major key, and I can tell you that there are 14 chords or harmonies to listen to. Okay, so we're going to put that here. A major key. And I am not telling you differently for the, oh no, I actually do have a key. I lied. I think it should be E flat major. And I'm not telling you otherwise for the first chord, so you know that that is a 1. However, I will tell you that the last chord is not 1. Okay? The last chord of this example is not 1. So let's listen to this and see if you can pick out where the 3 chord is. In fact, better yet, see if you can hear a few chords or a progression that sounds a little bit like part of the Pachelbel's canon progression. Actually wish we had time to listen to it in several more instances, but at any rate, what I've found, what I could hear at the end is I could hear an inconclusive or an incomplete sounding cadence. So I'm going to put in a 5 chord right here for the last one, right away. And I also heard that it was set up or prepared by our standard cadential 6/4 chord. I would definitely need more hearings in order to get all the chords in the middle. But what I can tell you, since we're short on time, and you can take the time you need to understand this, is that well, this is the chord progression here. We went from 1 to 5 in the beginning, and then we went to 5, 6, and then back to 5. Then we went to 1. And finally, we had some chords that come from the descending 5-6 variant sequence. Specifically, they are 6 going to 3, which goes to 4, which comes back to 1. So this little area right in here takes 4 out of the 6 chords I wanted you to memorize from the descending 5-6 variant sequence. And that's how we can understand and hear that a 3 chord is in the middle of this progression. The other 3 chords left would be a 5-6, then there was a 1 and a 2-6. And that is the complete progression for the example I just played. By the way, that is a Mozart progression. It's a Mozart example. And, you know, kudos to Mozart for sneaking in some part of a descending 5/6 variant sequence and making the progression sound as good as he does. So that's where I'm going to end the lecture for today. I would imagine between part 1 and part 2 that this is about 60 minutes or an hour or somewhere close to that. You know what you need to prepare for sight singing. You've got the prepared melodies and the prepared rhythms to work on, and there are no more quizzes or nothing more for you to send in or submit to me sight singing wise until the final exam. In terms of ear training, I am going to put an assignment on Canvas that's going to include some rhythmic dictation and some harmonic dictation. The rhythmic dictation, of course, will use triplets and duplets. The harmonic dictation, you will have 3 chords in the mix. And I'll give you all the details. I'm thinking I'll have that being due next Tuesday. The Tuesday of, in fact, the last Tuesday of regular classes, I guess you could say. But I'll give you the details for that. Any other questions you may have, feel free to call me or email me. I will try to keep you as up to date and as prepared and ready for this upcoming final exam as possible. And so that's where I'll stop for today. Have a good rest of your week and have a good weekend.